Started. It's 15 past, so. Welcome all. Who was on my session yesterday? That's good. We got a lot bigger room now. Awesome. I read through my evals and there's like not a single eval that wouldn't say like, why doesn't he have a bigger room? So nice to be here. Short introduction, we're going to do a session called 45 Life Hacks of Windows OS in 45 minutes. As I'm usually as blunt as I am, and I'll tell you the whole story. I actually submitted a session called 75 Life Hacks of Windows in 75 minutes. Then, no, this gets better. Then I went to the speaker portal and I saw that someone had changed my session to be a 45-minute session and also changed the title without asking me. So it was suddenly 75 life hacks of Windows in 45 minutes. Like, you're not making this very easy for me. So then I asked him, like, can you please change it to 45 life hacks in 45 minutes? So I think we can at least get through this. It's going to be a fast-paced session. If you don't know who I am, my name is Sami Laiho. I'm from Finland, live in Helsinki, or my mail goes to Helsinki. Last year I traveled 208 days, had 189 airport visits, and flew 3 hours more than a British Airways pilot. So, I can definitely say my mail goes to Helsinki at least. I've been doing this for quite a long time. I'm a Microsoft MVP in the core operating system. And I've been working with security and Windows internals and Windows troubleshooting for quite a long time. I love showing this because sometimes I come up with great jokes. And this one I love, okay? Anyway, so 2 years ago at Ignite, they gave me a speaker deck. And the deck had one line that said that please fill in all of your certificates. So that's a little bit difficult. Been an MCT for almost half of my life, which means I had to get certified all the time. So anyway, I came up with an idea. So now I just weigh them. So it's 2.6 pounds. It's I'll just pile it up and increase the number so it fits on a template, okay? Everyone asks me all the time where I learned my stuff. I'm actually my first Comdex. This is not even this is not a joke. This is my first Comdex I've ever went to, although it's my dad's card, but that's my first ever Comdex I went to. I was 3 years old. My dad took me 2 places that he should not have taken me to. One was Comdex, and then the other one was Comdex US, which was in Las Vegas, and you were not supposed to gamble if you're under 24, and I was almost 3. I was actually playing the slots with my mom, and we got a huge fine. A little bit too young for playing slots in Las Vegas. Anyway, my dad can't be here. He just passed away about a few months ago, so I just promised him once that I would have him on stage with me because he always wanted to be here, although he was so happy I was, but he just wanted to one day be here, and I said that I'll take him once, and I can't take him anymore, so I just wanted to kind of at least have him on the stage, okay? Thank you. He would appreciate that. So if you want to contact me, easiest is email. I'm always speaking in front of classrooms or doing sessions like this, so I never answer my phone. So just send me an email. If you're not on Twitter, get on Twitter, okay? So there's currently, if you want to get notified of a 0-day attack happening around the world, on Twitter, the average is now 7 minutes to get notified. And if you're a high-paying customer of Microsoft, it can still go up to 45 minutes. So if for nothing else, you should be on Twitter just to at least know what's happening in the security front, okay? But I have absolutely no other media to learn things from. So everything you're going to see here now, either it's been taught to me by someone else or earlier, but if I think about how I keep up my career, it's only Twitter. There's nothing else. Even Microsoft's Windows 10 deprecated the RSS feed reader functionality because no one reads blogs anymore, okay? So you have to be on Twitter. And of course, it would be really nice if you follow me. So this session is only demos, so I'm going to change straight from here to the other computer, and it's going to be very hectic, okay? Because if you're going to get 45 demos fit into 40 minutes, because I spent 5 minutes talking about myself, which I could have easily spent the whole time with, but so that's just my Excel sheet. I have to keep up somehow what I'm demoing, okay? So 45 demos. This is recorded. Don't be worried. You can review this later, okay? But it's going to be really, really fast, all right? Gather in things that I'm going to start by. First of all, when you start doing anything on a Windows computer, the first thing is Windows NT 3.1. Back in 1993, the user guide of Windows NT 3.1 says that there is no security in Windows if you're running as an admin user, okay? So you cannot be an admin. Otherwise, like, all bets are off. That's just nothing's prepared, nothing's built to work in a situation where you were running an admin. So the first things first, if you want to change from user accounts to another, I log on to my PC, normally with Sami, which is my normal user. And then if I need to elevate you, I will elevate anything required. Control-Shift-Enter. I have this. This should work. That's 1, okay, 45, 1. So how do I elevate is because I have 2 different fingerprints registered. Yesterday you might have seen my hedgehog, which is a totally different story. But I have 2 fingers registered. I have a normal limited user, and then I have an admin user, okay? It's it works perfect because there's like 2 things. First of all, it's actually really convenient. Plus, someone comes to you and asks, like, can you help me out with installing the software? Yeah, you just need this. Just problems disappear, okay? So this user is called Homer, so he's a full admin. So now we can work, because I would never ever log on to my PC with an admin account. Honestly, I would not. If you are using a Windows Hello machine, then I have Sun classes here for you. You can use these to have 2 different user accounts. It actually says the Finnish word for administrator on the arms. It doesn't fit on one, so it goes around. But it's called järjestelmänvalvoja. It's almost the same. You can put it on, but now they changed something. So I had my demo totally built up and it was ready, and then they changed something in 1803. And now it actually doesn't work anymore like this. So now you can use it still, but you have to put it like this. And then you're a different user, okay? So I'm sorry. When I bought the Sun classes, about 500 of them, I kind of thought that would work like it did before, but it still works like this. So no worries. That's fine. If you have a Windows Hello machine, then that will be fine. I hope everyone here knows who's Dave Cutler. Dave Cutler is the only senior technical fellow at Microsoft. He's I think it's a Highlander thing, like there can be only one or something. So he's going to be there as long as he lives and stuff like that. And he's very famous he built the NT core, but he also was very famous of loving Easter eggs. So we can have a few life hacks. So first of all, if you want to start this is a Windows 10 machine, okay? So in Windows 10, if you are in the situation where you're testing group policies, you're testing SCCM delivery, whatever, but you need to test on how will this work when I install it, but then Explorer needs to be restarted, okay? So there are a few options to do it. One is, if you right-click the taskbar, nothing happens. But if you shift right-click, nothing happens. But if you Control-Shift right-click, then you can get Exit Explorer, okay? Now that's a new one because it's Windows 10. That used to be done ages ago with older operating systems, so you can go way back to almost any OS. And I don't know when he kind of ran out of fingers or something. Because if you go back to any operating system that's older than Windows 10, then what you need to do is you have to go and you have to be on the desktop, press Alt F4, okay? And now normally if you would press cancel, of course nothing happens. If you press Alt F4 and then you shift cancel, nothing happens. If you Alt F4 Control-Shift-Cancel, nothing happens. If you Alt F4 Control-Shift-Alt-Cancel, then it kills the Explorer, okay? So that's, you just need to know this stuff. It's not documented, so you need to know, okay? Nowadays, it's a little bit easier because we can also use a few other tricks, okay? So I'm going to start a new Explorer here. And so what you can also do is Task Manager. So now on Windows 10, and I think it's 8.1 if I remember correctly, it's on the Processes tab. If you find your Windows Explorer, you can actually go right-click and say Restart, okay? Which means that that's a lot easier than any of these old methods. So there's even a new method now. Also, it's really fun to know that if you're doing kiosk machines, you know, you're doing a machine that's in a library or in a hotel lobby or something, and you have to really figure out that the user interface is very tight and no one can get in and stuff like that. And you get what if you do a group policy that says that you're only allowed to run IE, all right? Now, you try to run anything else, it won't work. If you try to run a command prompt, it won't work. It's just not work because there's a policy saying that it will not work. Well, good to know that if you have Task Manager in any version of Windows and you press Control while you click Run New Task, it always opens up a command prompt. No one really even now knows why, but just does. And it goes through group policies, which is just honestly annoying, okay? We got another one that everyone asks me all the time is that they started complaining that Windows Vista made things difficult because in Windows Vista, one thing did not work anymore, which was that if you had a file and you wanted to drag it to a command prompt, it would not work, okay? Now, this is not a trick, but this is something you should know. It has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that Vista or Microsoft decided in Vista to break this from working. It has to do with a security feature called integrity levels, okay? So you can only go from a process that has the same level of integrity to another process that has the same level of integrity, which means I can do this if I open up a normal command prompt, which is running as medium, and I can run it and it works fine, okay? I cannot do it from here to an elevated admin prompt. That will never work. But that's only because the integrity level of those processes is different, all right? So it has nothing to do with someone just being annoying and not allowing you to do it, all right? So you can't do it. Now we are at the command prompt, then I think everyone, I don't know why, but I teach this daily, like all the time for people, and still F7 is a life hack, okay? So hopefully you all knew that, but F7 is both for the PowerShell and for the command prompt. It's the command history. This is so funny. I get this question all the time. People telling me that, like, Sami, I don't know if you've seen, but the old command prompt, you look at this, what it can do, all of these cool things you can do, like transparent. This must be so important for admins. And anyway, so you can do this stuff, and then people are like, have you seen, Sami, that actually if you use PowerShell, these are almost identical. You know, this like the cool new PowerShell has almost the same stuff as the old bad command prompt. That is awesome if they're different because it's the same binary. So just something that you should also realize if you go for Process Explorer, and you should remember that the thing you're seeing here is conhost.exe. Conhost.exe is the console host for both PowerShell.exe and CMD.exe. So if you go here and find my, let's go down here, and you can see there's my CMD running conhost, okay? And then I have my PowerShell running conhost as well, all right? So that's actually the same binary. So PowerShell.exe is a totally separated thing from the conhost itself. Now, I don't know why, but I just love this, okay? So if you do a, where's my, I think I have it ready here somewhere. I should have. So I don't know why, but I was, someone just showed me. You know, I get this all the time. I'm teaching classes every week, and there's always a student who says, or I mean, I'm saying something, and the student raises their hands, and or their hand. I called it the dreaded student hand, okay? And it raises from the audience, and then you already knew that you didn't know something, okay? Because they're like, why didn't you do it like this? And then you're like, gonna kill you. Okay? I didn't know that tab completion, for example, works also in the way in PowerShell and in command, even in the old command prompt, that you can actually, if you have we got a folder here that has XLSX files, docx files, zip files. You can of course browse through these with the tabulator, but if you do star.xlsx and tabulator, it only browses through what you wanted to see, okay? So it just takes only the wanted file type and you can browse through. Help me out a lot with big files sometimes. Copy-paste error dialogues, a very old trick, but something people don't seem to know, which is that if you have an error dialog in Windows, so let's try to open up, let's actually do this from the Explorer. If you wanna open up a let's do system volume information. I can't do it, access is denied, okay? If this would be a Mac computer, there would be a neat button here saying copy this error message to clipboard, okay? But in Windows, you just have to know it, all right? So whenever you have an error dialog of Windows, then you just press Control-C, take your favorite, whatever, email or whatever, and then just Control-V it out, okay? So every error dialog in Windows has a copy-paste functionality in it. If that does not work, then your next option is that you could go to your OneNote and do an OCR, okay? So if you have the same error dialog that I just had, and you can't for some reason get that copy-pasted through the clipboard because of, for example, it being a third-party application, then you can always do an OCR from OneNote, all right? So this is one of my favorite things. I do this constantly all the time, which is that you go to OneNote and then you do insert, do screen clipping, clip whatever you want, go back, right-click, do copy text from picture, click Control-V, okay? So get the same stuff out. It's not perfect, it's OCR, which means it says lokatikken. But it's so much easier than just writing things down. Now that we're talking about writing things down, one thing that's very important for people to understand is there's an old and a new way of figuring out error codes, okay? So the old one is net help message, which only eats decimal values, okay? So net help message 0. If you had a value of 0, it was the operation completed successfully. Now, many of the customers that talk to us believe that we know this by heart, okay? It's like 32,768 different registered error messages in Windows, but they think that they're being really nice because they're going to send you an email. I had the error 1612. And then you're like, oh, that one. Okay? So 1612 would have been installation source for this product. That's probably an MSI-related issue, okay? So it makes it a little bit easier. You can also do the same with WinRM, which is the new one. WinRM has a new one, WinRM help message, which translates but only hex values. So if you see hex values, then it's easier to use this because it translates hex values to text, okay? So the old one does decimal, the new one does hex. You don't have to remember anything by heart. I always tell my students there's only one thing you have to learn by heart, which is the help message for 4006, because tonight we're going to have the attendee party, and any one of you who's married, you have to remember that replication with a non-configured partner is not allowed, okay? So that's the only thing I require you after this session to remember, okay? Now that we're on the command prompt, we got a few other things here. I've been copying sleep.exe from an old resource kit for like years, until a student. Like, why don't you just use timeout? Okay, so they changed the name of sleep to timeout, so that's nice. Anyway, another one, if you need to talk, if you're thinking about communicating between scripts, is wait4, which is awesome. It's in Windows, been there since XP, and wait4 can do both client and server. So wait4 does signaling between scripts, so you can do a centralized backup that will not launch before the other server backups have notified that they're ready to continue. So you can do signaling, which can be done, of course, on Process Explorer, which is a lot more modern. So it has it built in, but many of the PowerShell scripts that I see even today still use wait for to actually kind of like do this, because it's so much easier, because it's pre-built and everything's working, okay? So that should be wait for. Clip. I don't know if anyone here, well, the Finnish guys do, but like if anyone else than the Finnish guys know a guy called Mikko Hyppönen from Finland. He's the CTO of F-Secure. So F-Secure is the biggest antivirus company in Finland. He's very famous. He's one of the guys who, they had a domain before IBM had. They had a domain before Microsoft had. So they're actually really, it's a really old company, and he's very, very good at what he does. And he was at one of my sessions, and he was sitting there, and I couldn't teach him anything. Because whatever I tried to hit at him, it would never sink in, you know. It's like, I knew that, I knew that, I knew that, I knew that, I knew that. The only thing he didn't know was clip.exe, okay? So ipconfig pipe clip, all right? Which throws it to the, throws whatever you want and throws it to a clipboard, and you can paste it out, okay? So clip takes whatever you want, all right? There's another one for PowerShell as well, which is set clipboard. So you can do the same in PowerShell, do a get service. Oh my God, this is going to take a while. Should not have done this. Okay, so get service, and then you can just throw it to a set clipboard. And then you can do kind of the same thing we just did, okay? So paste it out, becomes out in a little bit weird looking form. By default, you can change the formatting of it, so that will work. PSXSec, an old application built by Mark Rusinovich and Bryce Coxwell, a great tool. I use it all the time. Now my problem is that I'm starting to be an old fart, believe it or not. I was teaching something, and I showed people, like, you know, PSXSec is so cool. And then I was on Twitter, and Mark Rusinovich announced, like maybe 3 years ago, he announced that PSXSec now can encrypt the user credentials when sent over the wire. And I went on Twitter, and I was like, oh, that is so awesome. Like, thank you, Mark Rusinovich. Finally, PSXSec can encrypt credentials over the wire. And I started a Twitter storm. Because there's like 100 answers instantly coming through Twitter. Who uses PSXSec? Because there's PowerShell nowadays. Just like, I just like shot myself in the leg. But thanks to a Swedish guy who's here as well, maybe not here in the room, but at least at Ignite, Johan Arvidmark saved my ass, okay? Because he replied to that tweet and said, how would you remotely enable PowerShell? It's like, there's only one answer after that, and that was like, PSXSec question mark? But you can have so much fun with this, okay? So I've used this for my like whole life, but if you haven't, it's a thing you should absolutely take a look at. So we have a few computers here. We got a Windows 7 box, and we got a Windows 10 box. It doesn't matter which one you'd use, okay? So I'm going to use the Windows 10 box to control the Windows 7 box. And the life hack here is a little bit different. So what I'm going to show you is, let's just do this. Okay, that's actually a blah, 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 blah. Let's just elevate that. PSXSec dash or slash, if I had my correct keyboard layout, SID stands for System Interactive Don't Wait, okay? And then you can just say what you're gonna, where you're gonna start it. So that's gonna be, student 25. And we're gonna start, program files, x86, Internet Explorer, iExplore.exe, but we're going to start it in kiosk mode, okay, which means it strips off the frames, so you can't shut it down, okay, and then it's all about your creativity, what you want to do with your colleagues. So I'm not saying anything. I'm being secure here. I'm going to do www.bing.com. Anyway, you can start whatever you want, and it's going to be really difficult to get rid of it. So Don't, Mark Minasi would say, don't use this for evil. A life hack, another one would be Alt F4 closes. Might save you. All right? I've done this multiple times. I'm trying to teach people the difference between system accounts and normal admin accounts. And I'm trying to show them that the normal admin account can't really do that much nowadays in Windows. This goes back to history of Windows, dating back to like 2001 when XP came out, and that's the time when Microsoft stopped having two divisions for building Windows versions. Okay, so they had two divisions. One was building enterprise products like NT, Windows 2000, and the other one was building the consumer versions like Windows 95, 98, best Windows ever, Millennium Edition, and they like. That just, when it ended and everything was combined to Windows XP, that's when things changed heavily, because now we were in a situation where the same kernel, if it was in an enterprise, you would have an admin to help you if you need to install something. But if you're a home user, you're the admin. So the only way for Microsoft to prevent you from breaking your computer was to heavily limit what an admin can do. That's why admins cannot be used for real troubleshooting in Windows, okay? So you have to use the system account to do that, because the system account in Windows is comparable to the root of Linux, okay? So I'm trying to many times showcase this by showing them that, if you're a local admin, you can see stuff inside SAM database or inside security. Take a very common troubleshooting thing that I have to do, which is there's a workstation that says, trust relationship between this computer and domain does not exist. And you would have to troubleshoot that. Now you can't troubleshoot it as an admin, because you can't see the secret passwords of the computer account, okay? You can only see them as Mrs. System. Now, I've always showed people that, well, you can get to Mrs. System by just using a admin account and then you use psexec, okay? psexec-sid cmd, all right? That starts another command prompt, and now we're running as Mrs. System, okay? Now I would like to show that the regedit now can show stuff, but the problem is that regedit can only run one window. And it's like, yes, why don't you do regedit-m? Okay, fair enough. All right? So now you can see we have a normal user and we have a system user. HK local machine, security. You can clean out the cached credentials. You can go and actually figure out what's wrong with this problem. It's not that hard, because Microsoft puts all the secret stuff in this folder called secrets. I think that's so smart. Okay, so machine account passwords for current value, old value. They're not clear text, but at least we can monitor if it changes when you do a computer password refresh against Active Directory. In AD it's easier because it's an object and it has an attribute, but here you have to go to the registry to dig it out, okay? Actually, no idea how many we went through with that one. This one is one I showed yesterday. I just hated this, I have so many cool registry keys that I want to show people all the time, and one of them I'm going to show a lot of stuff later with as well is software, Microsoft, Windows NT. Where do we have it? Oh, here, Windows NT, current version, image file execution options. It's the coolest possible registry key there is. Now the only problem with this is that it's so freaking far away in the path that it takes me ages to get to it. And why don't you use the favorites? Oh, that's a new thing. No, it was added to Windows in XP in 2001. Kill you. Also, I did a nice slide. It took me like 7-8 hours. No, actually, that's absolutely not true. I'd say like 7 to 8 days to figure out how to find where the registry things are. Like where are the registry files? They're memory mapped files from the hard drive, but where are they? And I did that investigation for ages, and then, okay. It's like, what now? Well, yeah, why didn't you just like use the HQ system current control set control Hive list? Because it's pre-built. Just, you can find every file where they actually reside on the hard disk by just looking at the Hive list. Like, it's nice to know after doing 7 to 8 days of digging into this. What we're gonna do next is I'm gonna actually that's what we're gonna do next. So service troubleshooting. Many times a very common thing you have to do, you have to troubleshoot a service, but services obey different rules because services run as local service network service system. They run with their service sets. They have different privileges. It's really difficult to understand how the world looks from a perspective of a service. So the best thing you can do, and the easiest one, is you go and download Process Hacker. Absolutely not supposed to be mentioned in this conference. Run as administrator, okay, just elevate that. And this one uses a privilege that you guys have as admins. That privilege is called impersonate a client after authentication, okay? Which means that you can just do Process Hacker, take any service that you're troubleshooting, let's say Windows Update service, not that commonly needed to troubleshoot. Right-click, miscellaneous, and then you just say run as this user, okay? And that uses the impersonation to just impersonate the service, okay? So you can impersonate anything you want. Of course, here, for example, this is a compromised workstation, and there's a problem here because our domain admin, we're just a local admin, but our domain admin has done something very stupid, which is that he actually logged on to a workstation with domain admin account, which you should never, ever be allowed to do, okay? So now what I need to do is take Explorer, miscellaneous, run as this user, and oops, now I'm the domain admin, okay? So you can impersonate anything you want on the box as long as it's authenticated. But that means services as well, which makes it a perfect troubleshooting tool for services, all right? There's one thing I've been asked all the time, every week at least once someone asks me, what about Windows 10 that does not boot anymore after a Windows upgrade? I think that doesn't happen because just Windows upgrades just work. But if for some weird reason that would happen, they will offer you a solution that says use dism.exe to go and get rid of that driver that's failing, okay? But I just love this tip, okay? So you do Windows PE, just boot from a Windows installation media, for example, Windows PE. Go there, get your sysinternals toolkit, run autoruns. You can't run autoruns.exe because that's a 32-bit, and most of you have UEFI with 64 bits now, so you can't run that because Windows PE doesn't have a 32-bit subsystem anymore. But you have autoruns 64, and autoruns 64 has this really cool function where this one, of course, can't help you because it's showing you Windows PE, which is now the running operating system. But what you can do is file analyze offline system, okay? Just to analyze offline system, point it to the dead Windows below it, hit OK, and it does the same thing. You might have to do this once more. Let's see where we are. Let's go see Windows, select, OK. And now, for example, going for bad drivers is so much simpler because you can uncheck the drivers, okay? That's all you need to do. You don't need to be a DISM super admin to understand how this works, okay? So it's a lot easier. The next one is super funny. I'm gonna be in so much trouble when I show you this. Please give me good feedback. I really desperately need it after this, okay? So I don't know if you've ever seen this, but there are some people who don't really like the fact that whenever you log on to a Windows 10 box with a new user, it comes up with this, hey, how are you doing? This won't take long, okay? Well, what you can do is you can actually, this is so unsupported. You can actually use a tool called Resource Hacker to hack the MUI packages that are used for this. Okay? Use this one. There's a file below C Windows System32. I think they might cut this out actually. Ubi, and there you can find a few things. First of all, one of these is MSOP first logon anim dll.mu. It's actually under the NUS. Sorry, the language packs are here. So there you have MSOP first logon anim DLL MUI. Okay. Net user test2 password QWERTY1 add switch user. We're gonna do test2. Did I do test2? I hope so. So we're gonna log on as test2, and this is a new user, which means again the same thing that we always get. But even though it's at least you can make it more fun, okay? So you can change the strings with Resource Hacker. Okay, now that you now that you know how to do that, there's actually nothing preventing you. And this is Michael Niehaus is going to kill me for this. So what you can also do is there's a lot of people asking me constantly about how do you actually block this. Like there's a group policy that kind of like takes it down a little bit, but can you like actually block it? Well, now we have one good thing here is that now that we know the executable that actually runs it, how did we get to know the executable? Well, I didn't know what the executable does, but luckily in Windows it's super easy to do like, I'd say like reverse engineering, okay? So, ubi nu, actually it's probably here. So I don't really know how to operate this first logon anim.exe, which does it. If you want to change, you can use the HTML to change like how fast it spins, what colors. I changed it actually the font to Comic Sans because I just love the old Comic Sans font. It looks so cool. So you can even do that. But what I did was I had no idea how to operate this because it has no documentation, of course, because this is supposed to be super secret. Microsoft has a cool thing called strings. Okay. Oh. If I just don't have it here, sorry, it's the wrong disk. Come on, where's my, no, it's wrong. Sysinternals new, this one. So let's do D strings. And then we'll do first log on name.exe, just throw it into a temp.txt, for example. The strings takes you through the whole binary, and then what you can do is you can, when it's done, then what you can do is you can go through the binary and find, for example, what did I call it? Temp.txt. So if you go through it, oh, that's actually going to take a whole long time to even get there. That's not going to even work. Let's actually take that dumped out to a file. That's actually not going to work. So I can't actually show that now. What I normally do is use strings to go through the whole binary, and it shows you the parameters that can be used. So based on those parameters, I found ways on how to like test this without always creating a new user. Okay, so strings is just phenomenal for that. But anyway, when we figured out that this one is actually, a friend of mine figured this out. I was teaching Windows internals. So if you want to learn more things like this, you should take my courses. Free advertisement. But I had a guy in my course, he had already done the course, and he had his employees on the course. He was just sitting there. And I said, like, I'm going to go to Ignite, and I want to show somehow how to hack that text because it annoys me. I needed to say, like, this will take eternity, okay? It's like, you go and figure it out. And he did it honestly with like Brockmon, strings, Process Explorer, all the stuff that I teach on the courses, and like figured it out and just showed it to me. So I didn't even come up with this. But that was so cool because he actually used everything that I teach, which is just feels, for a teacher, it feels the best, of course, like someone is actually using the stuff that you're teaching. So then we also started thinking about what if we would like to block it. He's working for the military. And he honestly wants to get rid of everything like this, all right? So now we have the thing I already mentioned to you earlier, software, Microsoft, Windows, NT. I should have a favorite. Yeah, I know, come on. Shut up. Okay, so image file execution options. If you don't know what it does, it's an old thing from Microsoft that was built for supporting end users so that they would believe that they're running an application, and Microsoft could start a debugger behind the scenes without the user or the customer knowing, okay? So it's actually the most strong thing in Windows when it comes to what gets executed if you type something, okay? So I use this for so much fun. You have absolutely no idea how much fun you can have with this. Because you can do stuff like this. If you run Notepad, you can set a debugger for Notepad, set it to calculator. Okay? So now if you go here and you start a Notepad, it's going to always start a calculator, okay? It's a little bit slow. You can do it from the command line as well, you know. Just go Notepad. Oh, no, we still, okay, that doesn't want us to, actually it's an elevated command prompt, so that won't work because this one is not running UAC, and the modern apps don't run without UAC, so that will not work. But isn't it fun that your friend would actually have to know how to go to like C drive. I'm gonna get rid of this freaking window. I don't know if you've seen Windows. That's life hack number 44, because we're getting close. So Windows, System 32, and now you have to go for Notepad and right-click here at Explorer. You have to actually right-click with the mouse. It's the only way where you can go open, and it still will open the calculator, okay? So you can't bypass this. Now, if we use this, we might be able to do something bad, which is first logon anim, okay? We're going to change the first logon anim of Windows, which tells you, hi, how are you? This won't take long. We'll change that to a debugger value of null. All right? Again, totally supported. Don't tell, luckily it's not recorded, so don't tell Michael Niehaus I did this, okay? So what you can do now is, let's just do a net user test 3 QWERTY1 add, and then we'll just do a log off. I think at the same time we can get rid of this weird window there, okay? So let's do test 3 QWERTY1. And it'll take a while, of course, because it's creating a profile like it did in Windows 7. The problem here, of course, why it's not supported is that they do really have an idea on the fact that while it's installing the universal apps for you, for your personal profile, it should be just like blocking you from doing anything. So they use this really nice feature of first logon anim. I actually already have a friend in Finland that uses this for SCCM, because that's actually a window that cannot be bypassed. So if you want to do an SCCM task sequence that, for example, does like, we're installing Office, don't touch this box. You can use the same executable, just with the different strings, and it actually blocks everything. You can't do task manager, Control-Alt-Delete, everything's blocked. Okay? So there you go. No anims anymore. All right? We are having like 1 second on the clock. So if you want to learn more stuff like this, I would really hope that you would just take the trial offer that I have for you. That's for free for 30 days, stuff like this, plus all the Windows internal stuff I teach, okay? And please do fill the evals, because if you don't fill the evals, I can't come back here. And you might also mention that we need bigger rooms. But anyway, so with that, thanks you so much for coming. Enjoy.